I've got a quick question for you. Have you ever tried to darken a colour or mix a grey to perhaps shade an object, but just ended up with something that maybe looks flat or muddy or a bit dull? If so, it's probably because you're using black to darken your colours, but I'm here to show you a better way today. If you don't know me, hello, I'm Katie. I love to help people learn to paint, and today I'm going to show you how to get richer, more harmonious greys in your paintings by not reaching for black, but instead going for complementary colours. Now, this one small shift can completely change how your art looks and feels. So here's the thing. When you use black and white to make grey, yes, technically you get a neutral. But often that grey looks chalky, it's cold, a bit lifeless, dull, and it just feels like it lacks. Especially when you put it next to more vibrant colours, it just really falls flat. And if you build your whole painting with those kind of greys, it can really just make the whole thing feel dull, a bit boring, a bit muddy, even if the rest of the colours are vibrant or spot on for what you're wanting. Now here's the big tip. When you mix those complementary colours like blue and orange, magenta and green, or purple and yellow, you still get a neutral, so you still get a grey, but it's a grey that's full of life, and there are those subtle shifts and hidden tones in there. It really has depth, pigment and energy, which brings way more life to your painting. Why? Because instead of pulling in the black, which is a lack of colour, a minus, you're neutralizing the colours that are already in the palette. This creates that instant harmony, and essentially you're adding pigment to more pigment. Now let me show you what I mean. So let's first make some greys with the black and white. You don't need much black here. Here's just a few examples of some grey. I mean, I'm using golden colours as well, which notoriously do have really nice pigments, but this is a grey just using the white and black. Let's get a darker grey as well, just for a couple of examples. I mean, they're fine. It's grey. I feel like the only thing I can possibly say about it is grey. Let's just see how that kind of looks as well, say next to a bright colour like orange. It feels like the orange stands out so much, and the grey is just a bit wah wah in comparison. So let's see if we can make some greys with the complementary colour. So the complementary colour, we're going to take the magenta and we're going to add to it. I mean, I've got phthalo green, but we probably would be better with more of a green here, but this is what I've got. So let's see what it gives. As with all these things, it's mostly just experimenting. Now we are going to have to add a little bit of white into this as well. In fact, because I think I probably should have gone for one of these greens, I'm just going to add in a little bit of orange. And I'd say that's a pretty close in colour. Perhaps a little bit too purpley. What I'd like to do is just try a different green there. I'm gonna use this green. I think that's probably a bit of a better complementary than the one I currently have. This is a different brand as well. Let's try these together. So this is like a sap green with a magenta. Yeah, that's much better. That's much more of a closer complementary. You can see this is kind of like almost like it's full of pigment, but it's still like a bit, I'd say like dirty, which sounds bad, but actually I think that's lovely. If you're painting florals, leaves, and you want a bit of a shadow, so it's kind of like a scale. You can have a more of a greeny grey, you could have more of a pink grey. This is like a very lovely warm grey. But all of these still constitute as grey. They're still neutral. They just look more pigmented because, well, they have pigment in them. So let's see what that looks like. Let's put some bright magenta against that. You can see that it's much more harmonious. It kind of matches these greys, whereas if we, let's pop that here, just have the magenta next to this grey, it feels like it's almost fighting against, whereas these, it feels like it's so harmonious just on its own. There's the green, sorry. Okay, let's try this with blue and orange. Blue and orange is actually my favourite to make greys with. You only need a tiny bit of blue. And this is brilliant for like rocks, seascapes. Let's add a bit of white to that. It's quite difficult to see, I think, when it's... You can see that is a brilliant grey. In fact, that grey is pretty similar to this swatch we did here. But this grey is, because it's made of pigment, it's richer. I suppose it will be even hard to pick up on camera, but in person you can see such a difference in between these two. Let's carry on. Let's do, because this is obviously quite a cool grey. Well, it's a perfect neutral, I suppose, but let's try a little warm grey. Because if we're, say, painting like a white flower and there's some sunlight on it and we want some of the shadow, then we might want a nice warm grey like this. And you can see as well, another reason why this is great, if you want to add a highlight, you can add that on and it adds such a beautiful contrast. Whereas if you have that on just the plain grey, it doesn't quite sing as well. Let's pop some of those colours next to that as well. And you can see that it's got a lovely palette. So you could essentially make a whole painting with just the two colours with white and create a really dynamic painting that way. Just to give you a few examples of like how I've used this in the past, this is one of my paintings that I definitely used this effect with. You can see like there's more purple tones, like these greys here. This was literally done with purple and yellow. So I built up the roses and then I kind of built up the texture. And then also in like the greenery, there's definitely some like pinks and greens here. So it looks like greys and there's different elements of greys, but I kind of used a mixture of greys to then build the flower on top of. And what it does, it just creates more of a dynamic feel. Another example of that is this painting, which is not finished yet, but again, I've got kind of like a lot of the magenta and green greys, and just a mixture of different ones there. And in like a landscape, this is an example of how I've included that in a landscape as well. In the bits in the sky, but also in the hills, there's like purple and yellows and greens and pinks. Say like this dark green was made with magenta and green, and same for the different greys that you can kind of see, and in the water too. So that's just kind of an example of how you can also use this in your artwork. So I hope that really shifted some things for you. Here's a little challenge. Next time you need a grey or that shadow colour, try mixing it from a complementary colour and play with the ratios, see what kind of greys and browns and neutrals you can create from those beautiful colours that are already in the painting. You really might be surprised by how much more professional and painterly your artwork starts to look just from this one small shift. Now, if you love these simple, skill-focused tips, just like this video, this is exactly what we do in Supercharge Your Art in 14 days, which I'd love to invite you to. It's a sketchbook course designed to really help you improve your art by focusing on one of these essential core skills at a time. Things like colour, value, composition, drawing, proportions, and many, many more. You get 14 bite-sized lessons every single day that are skill focused, with that integrated encouragement and little pep talks. And you get lifetime access to all the lessons. So it will really give you everything you need to start growing your art skills. You're going to fill your sketchbook with beautiful art, and you're going to feel confident and finally feel like you know what you're doing when you sit down to paint. There's a link to join in the description box. I'll pop it there in the description box. I'm really excited to have you on board on this adventure, and just excited to see the incredible results that you are going to get right before your very eyes. And I'm excited to celebrate that with you. So I'll see you there. Again, the link is in the description box if you'd like to join.